Hey everybody, it's Scompy here again. I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit more of a lowdown on my intermittent fasting regimen and how I pretty much approach it now compared to how I approached it several years ago. So basically, when I started this back in about, I think it was early 2011, that first week was a killer. Just getting into the process of going more than even 12 hours at a time without eating was a huge thing. I would get shaky. My body wasn't accommodating with it. I was still really hungry. But after a few days of doing it, suddenly I was able to bring that window up a little higher, like 14 hours, 16 hours, and up to the 18 hour at a time mark without really feeling bad about it. The shakiness went away about after a week. And I think it was at that point my liver probably was starting to cooperate more with me and going, okay, I'm used to this very low amount of incoming sugar sources, and I'm going to have to do something about it to create a little more glucose. And if you read up on it, the liver is like the only organ in the body that creates extra glucose when it's in short supply, and this is to help feed the brain. So after about the second week of doing intermittent fasting, I noticed that my hunger pains started going away. And this was wonderful because it was a very surreal feeling that I'm doing fasting, I'm not eating a lot, I'm eating in these really narrow windows of time, but during the time I'm not eating, I wasn't getting hungry. And of course, this relates all the way back to insulin. When you have a lot of insulin in your bloodstream at once, and no sugar to compensate for it, your body's just going to call on food to compensate for that extra insulin around in your blood. So really it took about a full 3 weeks for me to really get into the feeling of what intermittent fasting's like. And then for the next few months after, it was kind of like tuning the timings of it and tuning how much food I was eating during the day and such like that. Really, intermittent fasting became the tool for stopping my hunger and getting rid of the appetite. And I can't say how much this is a success as like a tool for anybody out there. If you try it, obviously you want to talk to your doctor first. You probably don't want to do it like I did, but I kind of eased myself into it. So I knew what I was doing, and then worked with my doctors later after the fact and let them know what was going on. There's obviously a lot of concerns that you should be aware of when doing any kind of thing like this, like what your ketone levels are like, just all the biology involved. So really this is about what changed with me. So what I found is about after a year of doing it, I found this optimal zone where I would get up in the morning, and in the morning I would drink a whole glass of water, just straight water, and then do a little bit of exercising on without having eaten anything since about 3 o'clock the previous day. So I'm already getting this synergy with doing an exercise workout without any sugar in my bloodstream, and the body's being forced to call upon any glycogen reserves, any energy reserves in the body to feed that early morning workout. Now the early morning workout, I never overdo it at all. What I typically do is I do some just very light starting stuff. I'll do some jumping jacks, I'll do some push-ups, some sit-ups, stuff that's kind of fun, just kind of easing into it in the morning. And I usually only start the exercise about 10-15 minutes after I get that water in. Why the water? I keep coming back to this, is that through the whole night your body dehydrates, so you need to get your blood moving again. You need to get water in first thing in the morning to get that flow of blood back into the body and to just kind of get it going for the day. So the combination of the water, then with the light exercise, and depending on how I feel in the morning, I might extend the exercise beyond 10-15 minutes. But typically it's maybe 5-10 minutes of just exercise, enough to get me going in the morning. So that strategy has been really useful because that kind of helps everything go early on in the day. And then typically at lunchtime, over lunch, I'll do my major exercise. You know, I'll go play soccer, or I might do some sort of like strength training of some kind. And I'll do that maybe, you know, only 2 or 3 times a week, but enough to get like a good solid like half hour, 45 minutes of time in, just to get you know, the body going and getting really the depletion of the glycogen out of my system and getting my body to burn. On those days, okay, I have these things called keto strips, which are, I can monitor my ketone levels just by literally peeing on a little strip to see, you know, how much ketones are in your urine. So what I've found is that on my workout days, especially later in the day after a really hard workout, my ketone levels will just be shooting through the roof. I'll be totally burning a lot of ketones. And if I get to the point where I'm like, the ketone level is just super high, like out of control, I'll actually go and refuel the next day with a little more on the carb side, just to get, you know, things more in balance, because I want that window of my body burning the ketones, but not to an extreme point. So I'll monitor that kind of over the course of every other day or so to see where my ketone levels are at. This has been this like kind of ongoing thing, just to like, you know, you don't want to overdo anything, but you don't want to also not be burning ketones at all, in my opinion. Because if I am not burning ketones, that means I'm not hitting any fat off my body, and it's just an indicator that I probably have too much sugar going on in my bloodstream. So I guess with that said, the intermittent fasting, there's a lot more benefits that I've even mentioned here, like higher HGH levels. You don't want to take the intermittent fasting beyond like the 24-hour mark, because then all the peaks kind of hit at that point and then fall off later from a lot of the research I've read. So really that optimum point of doing the intermittent fasting is like, you know, I find is like 16 to 18 hours each day. But if you do like if I were to do a higher level of fasting in one day, if I go a full 24 hours, then I might actually switch over to doing one day of full fasting and then doing like, you know, getting off of the intermittent fasting for a few days and then coming back to it for a full 24 hours of fasting like that. There's a lot of literature out there on this. I really don't need to go into those details, but there is one aspect that I do want to really emphasize with the intermittent fasting that a lot of times gets overlooked, and that is the leptin and the insulin sensitivity issues. So being on this intermittent fasting for over like almost 3 years now, I've found that I think I am starting to get more sensitive to insulin in my system. And this is because, you know, certain foods I used to be, I couldn't eat. I would just immediately get this feeling of lethargy. I just get totally like lazy feeling, and I'd feel down and out. That feeling hasn't really hit me now if I go and eat like a scoop of ice cream, or if I have like a piece of sugary chocolate. If I eat that now, I don't feel the waves like I used to. So I'm thinking my signaling is getting better in my system, but there's really no way to like monitor that other than what you feel. So I still am very cautious with the amount of sugar I ingest at one time, especially if it's a raw sugar, just a pure sugar that I know it's going to hit my gut and immediately get into the bloodstream without any buffering whatsoever. So I think that's about it on the intermittent fasting at this point. If you have any more questions about it, you can just respond to the video, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.